Francine shakes the gate vigorously, desperately trying to open it. Come on, please open. I want to leave. I want to go. Go where? Where do I want to go? I don't remember. Francine stops shaking the gate and allows her arms to weakly drop back down to her sides. She begins trying to find a way out. It's clear to her that she will need another key in order to make her way down to the first floor. Suddenly, images of a study flash inside Francine's mind, vaguely remembering that there is a study on this floor. Francine is unsure why these images are in her mind, but she feels as if this is her only hint to where the key could be located. It's as if her mind is slowly remembering her surroundings, like muscle memory. Francine looks around the room, trying to find out which direction she should go. Her eyes fall upon a corridor in the corner of the room. The layout of this place, it keeps shifting, but how? Where am I? What is this place? She thinks to herself as she makes her way towards the corridor. Francine takes a deep breath, looking down the corridor. Then she begins to walk along it, checking around for the room to the study. Instead of a study, Francine comes across several locked rooms. Every door she sees, she tests the door handles, but it appears that all the rooms here are locked, until she comes across one around halfway down the corridor. She tests the door handle, believing it to be just like the rest. However, this time, the door handle moves and the door clicks, slowly creaking open. Francine peeks inside, seeing that the room is a simple snooker room with a home bar tucked away in the far corner. Flashes of the man from the photograph appear in her head again, and she quickly shuts the door. No, the key won't be in a room like that. Surely not. After leaving the room, the corridor Francine was in has shifted and twisted into what appears to be a new area of the mansion. The wallpaper has changed. How long was I in there for? This can't be possible. Francine begins making her way down the new corridor, checking every door until one of them opens. She comes across a door larger than the rest with an ornate pattern carved into it. She tries the door handle and opens up a room to a small library. Francine looks around the room and takes out a few books, only to notice that they're all blank. What use is a library when all the books are empty? This just doesn't make any sense. The key is not in here either. I must look elsewhere. Just before leaving the room, Francine notices a book out of the corner of her eye that actually has a ribbon wrapped around it. She pulls it out and removes the ribbon to discover that the book is The Canterville Ghost by Oscar Wilde. For a moment, Francine feels a little bit excited. She opens the book to find out it's also blank. Well, what a silly gift this is. She doesn't understand how she knows it was a gift. She just does. Francine returns to the corridor and scours through the rest of the rooms. She tries a few doors and each of them lead into a similar bathroom, but with slight differences, such as the position of the bath or sink. She enters each of these rooms and discovers nothing more than old toothbrushes. Francine returns to the hallway and enters another room. This time it's a playroom. The room was full of children's toys, for both boys and girls. Dolls, puzzles, rocking horses, and dominoes. With a gentle smile on her face, Francine wanders around the playroom, lightly rocking one of the rocking horses back and forth with her hand. Francine sheds a tear and wipes it away as soon as it reaches her cheek. Oh, why am I crying? I wonder where the children are. Maybe everyone's on the first floor. Francine leaves the room behind. Well, the key isn't in any of those bathrooms, and I didn't see anything of use inside of that playroom. It has to be somewhere here. I do not want to go all the way back to the top floor for a key I will probably never find. Francine becomes frustrated as she starts to lose hope. Francine shuffles through the rest of the corridor and notices a door open at the bottom of the corridor. with a light emanating from inside the room. Excited, she calls out, "Hello? Hello? Is anyone there? Can you please help me? I don't know how I got here, and I can't seem to find my way out. Hello? Hello?" Francine makes her way over to the door and walks inside, only to find that the room is completely devoid of life. A frustrated Francine sighs heavily and begins shouting at the empty room. "Someone has to be here somewhere. I'm not the only one here. There has to be someone." Francine looks around and notices that she's inside of a trophy room. There are shelves lined with medals and framed certificates, a few trophy cabinets, each with a varying amount of trophies, medals, and certificates inside. Francine inspects some of the trophies in one of the cabinets. Most of them are blank, but some of them say swimming on the plaque. She moves on to the next one with only one medal resting inside of it. She checks the symbol on the medal, which resembles the sun. Francine moves on to a cabinet that is full of different medals and trophies, most of which seem to be for cricket. Flashes of the man in the photo once again plague her mind. Francine shakes the memories out of her head and notices that one of the items inside the cabinet is a newspaper clipping. She can't make out any of the text, no matter how much she looks at it. The only thing on the clipping that she can thoroughly make out is the year 1899. After reading that number, Francine feels a mix of content and great sadness. It's unsure to her as to why she feels this way. Before making her way out of the room, Francine checks around the rest of the room and finds another newspaper clipping. This time she can read some of the words. England's greatest dies, home, circumstance. Francine is unsure what she's reading and drops the clipping back where she found it. She finally leaves the trophy room and suddenly realizes that the mansion has shifted once more. This time, the corridor has gotten darker, danker, with particles of dust and torn wallpaper. She looks back inside the trophy room before she closes the door, only to find the cabinets had been smashed, glass strewn all over the floor. Quickly, Francine checks her feet, but can't see any cuts from the glass. What? How did... Perhaps I should stop questioning this foul place. Nothing makes any sense here whatsoever. Francine walks into the derelict corridor to find the floor is also badly aged. Most of the candles have gone out now, and even the vases look faded and damaged. This is awful. It's as if time keeps passing by me every time I focus on something. Oh, how I wish I could turn back time and get out of this horrible building. Francine begins walking down the corridor, only to notice that the door to the library is now wide open. Quickly, Francine shuffles towards the door and checks to see if anyone is inside. Unfortunately, no one is here but Francine. Looking around, she can tell that the library has now become a dusty mess, with cobwebs hanging around the corners of the room. On the floor is a book with an object poking out of it. Francine bends down, her knees creaking loudly. She picks up the book and slowly rises from the floor, her back stiffening in the process. Before opening the book, Francine lightly massages her back to break up the tension that's stiffening it. She opens the book to find that the object sticking out of the book was a key. Yes, I found it! Francine shouts with a sigh of relief. Oh, what's this? Francine reads the tag attached to the key. Study? Wait, why is the key to the study stuffed inside this book? Francine notices some text inside of the book. It appears to be a hidden note that reads, "Meet me in the study at 2100 hours. I'll be waiting, my love." The clock in the room suddenly and loudly chimes at 9 p.m. The sudden loud sound makes Francine jump out of her skin. She takes a moment to control her breathing and calm down her mind. Francine leaves the dusty library and walks down the corridor, key in hand, heading towards the door to the study, as if her body and mind are on autopilot. On her way, Francine begins to hear whispers of men and women all around her, surrounding her mind. She can't make out what they're whispering about or who the voices belong to, but she feels uncomfortable, sickened and embarrassed. Suddenly, Francine finds herself in front of the door to the study. She takes a deep breath and sticks the key in the door, her hands still shaking. She unlocks it and opens it. After entering, she finds an old maid's uniform strewn across the floor. Knocked over bottles of all shapes and sizes, some labelled whiskey, and a golden wedding ring neatly placed on the desk. Without warning, a sudden memory pops into her head. She hears the giggling of a man and the voice of a woman and the whispers of romance they would share with each other. Francine begins to cry, finally remembering the pain of her past. She remembers where she is and who she is. I lived here. This was my home. My husband, no, that awful man, he used me. He used me for all these years as some sort of trophy. He just wanted children. Just like so many men. Didn't matter how kind he was on the outside, he was just like the others. Francine drops to her knees, still trying to process her memories. No. I think he did love me. Once upon a time at least. Until that harlot came along. Those trophies, the bat, the medals, those all belonged to him. He was the cricket player. I met him after his parents passed away, which he inherited this estate from, along with all their money. Angry and confused, Francine forces herself onto her feet and begins to frantically search the room for the key to the first floor, even checking underneath the uniform that once belonged to one of their maids. But the key isn't there. She finds the key underneath the study desk, as if someone had dropped it and forgotten it was there. Francine stops and thinks to herself for a moment. She gets the feeling that there is something horrible waiting for her on the first floor. Something that she's not supposed to see, or perhaps something that she's too scared to relive. She can't quite place her finger on why she feels so anxious, but she needs to leave. She takes the key and heads back to the stairwell leading to the first floor. Francine sticks in the key into the lock, and the gate fades away, just like it did last time. She begins to slowly walk down the stairs when her vision begins to blur just like before. She begins to hear familiar voices in the distance. She can't quite make out who's speaking. I think we can leave the patients for the rest of the day. It is New Year's Eve after all. It's not like any of them really matter. Let's drink and celebrate while they rot. They don't need to know what today is. They're God's rejects. Francine's blurred vision causes her to stumble down the last few steps. For a moment, she slips out of consciousness. When she comes to, she groans in pain and looks up to discover a dusty and dimly lit but mostly intact foyer. Francine slowly pushes herself up and returns to her feet, then wipes off all the dust from her nightgown. When doing this, she notices her hands look younger, and although in a bit of pain, her body isn't as badly damaged as it would be if she was as old as she remembers being. A confused Francine thinks to herself for a moment. I've gotten younger, and I'm remembering things I should never be able to forget. I'm back at home, but everything keeps changing. Have I been sent to hell for what I did? Wait a moment. I did something wrong? What did I do? I cannot quite remember.